Hi guys, welcome back to an episode of Railroader with me. Yay. So I've gotten a few hours in on Railroader finally. I've managed to get a breathing moment and put some actual time into playing. And I figured my last video of the year will be a bit of a breakdown on how the game works, what does what, how controls work, stuff of that nature. That way, when the inevitable question comes, this video will already be out. I already know, without a doubt, somebody's gonna ask, "Can you do a video on how the game mechanics work?" Okay, whatever. So I managed to get about I'm probably sitting about 25-30 hours in, so I've been playing enough now to get a pretty good grasp on what does what, how it does it, why it does it. So yeah, we're gonna hop along and do a little bit of operations today, and kind of use those operations to show what's doing what and why. So as you can see right now, we're cruising along with our little starter mogul and a short passenger train. Early game, two things are kind of going to be your bread and butter. The logging industry and these little short passenger trains, little short passenger trips. Passenger trains don't make a lot of money initially. Typically, you're only making $1 to $2 per ticket, depending on how far you're going. So, obviously, if you only have with this starting coach, you have a capacity of 60 people. So right now I have 60 times 2, it's 120. So the average train trip across the line for what I've got right now might make $300 to $400. But as you can see, it's only 11 o'clock, and this is my second trip across the entire line. So in a full day, you should be able to make 3 to 4 full cross-line trips with 2 coaches, from Ella to Silva, and all stops in between. So you could potentially make every bit of $1,000 to $1,500 just off of ticket sales. And then, secondly, as I said earlier, logging will be really and truly your major bread and butter during the start game, for if you're playing career mode, of course. If you're playing sandbox mode, obviously you could do whatever you so please to. It won't make much of a difference. But if you're playing career mode, logging is going to be the thing to do for the better portion of your starting game, at least until you get the bridge built from Ella to Bryson and open up some more space to move. Or you could do what I did, and I sold the 460 that you were given at the beginning of the game, and I bought a locomotive, and then I took out a loan. I took out about a $16,000 loan, I think. And I bought a third locomotive, and I bought the rights for the line from Whittier to Silva. Now, the downside to doing what I did is it puts your interchange way at the other end of the line. So you're stuck running way down here to pick up your freight or interchange cars and whatnot, just to come way up here to do most of your business in Whittier and Eller. Just because that's where your starting contracts are going to be for your first whole 5-6 days in game. But the upside, as you can, as you can see, is you get a lot of room for passenger operations. So it actually makes passenger operations a lot more profitable. Not to say that they're not important at the very beginning of the game, even just running between Whittier and Ella. Having a good reputation on the railroad is absolutely important. It helps give you a discount on purchasing new equipment and new milestones and such. For those that didn't know that, a good reputation equals a really good discount. But starting game with your single coach and between only two places, you really don't make it's not profitable overall to really carry passengers, because between these two places, after a couple runs, you're only picking up 10 passengers maybe at each station. 10 to 20. It doesn't make much. It's only $20. But whenever you open it up like this, and if you purchase a second car like I did, I mean, you're looking at 120 people. Typically you can set both cars to all destinations in between, and they'll be pretty much full for most of the trip. I mean, like you can see right here, I've got 102 people. So that's a pretty healthy payout when it all adds up. And then of course, whenever we get up here, I will show you guys at Whittier, the logging industry is definitely the most profitable industry starting off, that you'll be able to like see immediate results. With the string of, what is it, like 6, 7, 2, and 4, yeah, 8 log cars. You'll accept a contract with the sawmill in Whittier, and you'll take those 6 log cars and drop them off. You'll probably, at bare minimum, you'll have to split them between Connolly 2 or 3, or 1 and 3, 1 and 2, whatever. You'll have to split them between 2 of the logging camps, but I like to split them in between 3 just because it gives me something to do during the day, especially on long trips like this right here. I can set the AI up to run the passenger train between like Wilmot to Dillsboro. This is a really long stretch of main line, and as the game sits with the lack of real interesting scenery, it gets really boring. So you can set the AI to operate. I'd normally set the AI to run at 30, 35, just because it makes it slow enough to do what I want to do, but I can drop off my 2 cars at each log mill, and kind of just take up a little time. But after about an hour, those log cars will be filled up, and you can come grab them, take them to the sawmill, and the payout after they're all unloaded is average, I think, like 12 to it's 11 to $1,200. Like, it's a pretty hefty payout. Now, it does take a bit of an obnoxiously long amount of time to unload, in my opinion. I might have. Am I? Oh, nope, it's up here. I'm blind. But it does take a bit of an obnoxiously long time to unload logs. Considering the way they've got it set up, it looks like the logs are just pushed off of the log cart into a pond in front of the sawmill. With that in mind, it takes hours for all 8 log cars to get unloaded, which I think is kind of unreasonable, all points considered. But then again, it does line up with most of... I don't know that I had any passengers for Wilmot anyway. Yeah, I didn't. Oh well. Looks like I'm picking people up anyways. I am. 50, 60. Alright. So Lamont to Whittier, it's a pretty healthy run. 30, 35. Actually, truth be told, it's about 40 between there. So we'll let the AI run. We'll catch it whenever we get ready to grab it in a second. So we'll hop over here. I can kind of point out what I'm talking about. But these log cars, this string of log cars has been sitting here for about 18 minutes, and as you can see, a grand total of 2 logs have been unloaded. I think that's a little bit unreasonable, but I'm not here to really spend much time talking about my opinions on the game as it sits. I'm going to give them inevitably. Welcome to the world. I'll toss my opinions out here and there now that I've got a real good clean grasp on the game, but this is one of those things I don't like. But as you can very clearly see, it looks like they're just supposed to roll off. So I don't see why it takes hours upon hours to unload 8 cars of logs, but this is probably the most profitable industry at the start of the game. You will be able to take contracts for different industries along the line, such as, we'll hop up here to this place here. Stencil manufacturing, and what is this? Hollyfield heating and oil. You can take a contract and they'll bring in a car or 2 or however many will fit in this area, and you'll be able to swap them out, I assume. I think 5 days into the game right now, and there are some things like this tank car here that I dropped off on day 1, and as you can very clearly see, it's still here. It's still not unloaded. Yeah. So industries take an unreasonably long amount of time to unload, considering what this game looks like it aims to be, which is more of a business game. But other times it feels like they unload really, really quick. So I have swapped this track out now 3 times. I don't know why it is that this one unloaded so quick, but it did. This industry unloaded really, really quick. This one, not so much. And there's a couple like farming industry things up here at Ella that have been unloading now for 2 or 3 days. I don't understand that. Well, while I'm thinking about it, I better come up here and be sure that my tracks are set so I don't have my AI slamming through here at Mock Jesus. But oh yeah, so I did my 2 locomotives. I bought the light force, the little bitty 462 that is fairly cheap for giggles and squiggles, more or less. As it sits right now, I don't have busy enough track it to really need this second locomotive. I actually thought I was going to use it for the passenger operations running up and down the line, but as you can very clearly see, the starting mogul does just fine for it, truth be told. And then I bought the logging 210-2 or the 282 tanker. You're going to get limited use out of this locomotive due to its water range. It consumes a lot of water and it goes through it really quick. So you won't probably get a ton of use out of that locomotive just because of how far away stuff is just in the starting setup right now. But I like to use it for the logging line here, just for giggles and squiggles. It is a logging locomotive, so why not? And it does work out pretty well for that. It's got plenty of power to drag those cars up and down loaded. So enough about what I got going on. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game and how they work. So obviously one of those things that everybody and their mother is going to want to figure out is passenger operations. So for passenger operations, what you'll end up doing is you'll hook up to your car, or add your car into your freight train. If you've got a freight, you're trying to do a local or whatnot, you want to pull passenger car along. To pick up passengers at different stations, you have to select where you're going, not the station you're at. So from Silva, I was going all the way down here to Whittier, so obviously I checkmarked Whittier, and passengers that are going to Whittier loaded up at Silva. And then obviously I'm going all the way down the line, so I originally had everything but Silva checkmarked, and as I got to each station, they uncheckmarked themselves. The passengers for those depots unloaded, and I made money. And if there were any passengers at those depots for Whittier or Ella, they loaded up. So like Dillsboro is your first stop leaving Silva. I had Dillsboro check marked. I stopped at Dillsboro. Any passengers I had on got off at Dillsboro, and any passengers I had that wanted to go to Wilmot, Whittier, or Ella got on the train. And it has continued since. So that's how you'll do passenger operations. It's actually really kind of nice. It's quite simple. It's very easy to understand once you do it a couple times. The only issue I have found is sometimes passengers won't load even though you have room. If you... Oh, I was not paying attention. I should... Come on. There we go. But I'll probably have to back up here. Such is life. But as I was saying, sometimes whenever you pull up to a station and you see that, say like right now I pull up, I see somebody wants to go to Ella and I didn't have Ella check marked, and I go ahead and check mark Ella. Now I've found that sometimes it may or may not load. You'll have to pull out of the station area and then back up again into the station area. I don't know if that's a bug. It's just something that I've caught happening a couple times now. But other than that, it works pretty well. It's fairly simple. So that's how passenger operations work. Really, really simple. I really don't think I can break that down any more than I already have. And then freight operations, a little bit more complicated. There's a mixture of contracts, random, and then of course your fuel, which are kind of gleaned over in the tutorial. The tutorial is very, very, very vague on how a lot of things work in game. In my opinion, I think there needs to be a more in-depth tutorial, because it really does not explain the whole industry setup very well, like at all, in my opinion. So as you can see, 71 fares, made 131 bucks. It's not a ton of money, but you do this a couple times and it pays out fairly decently. But should be loading up the rest of our passengers for Ella, and then we'll go to Ella, drop off, and then I'll probably fast forward a couple hours and see if my bridge stuff is done. But anyway, back to the freight. So you have certain things that'll be outright random, like some of these stations have house tracks. Like right here, we have a Whittier house track. In a minute, we'll be going to Ella, and you'll see the Ella house track. And then if you figured out the contracts, which I'll explain a contract for the sawmill in a minute, but just kind of while we're on the topic, but if you've got a contract with a sawmill and you've already dumped off a few logs, obviously the sawmill is going to start producing lumber and whatnot. So that's another random thing. Cars will get dropped off to get spotted at the sawmill that you don't have a contract for, but it doesn't matter. They're just random cars from the industry itself that you'll get paid to drop them off, and you'll get paid after they're loaded. You'll get paid to take them to the interchange. those kind of freight operations, they don't pay a whole lot. It's, from what I can tell, about an average of like $60-ish per car. In your early game, you're only going to be messing with 3 to 4 cars tops in a lot of your operations. So you're not going to make a ton of money off of it, but it is enough to notice. You know, 3, 4 cars, obviously 60 times 3 is $180. Do that a few times, that adds up. But it's, you know, different. So to get into those contracts, I pulled this up a second ago, so you hop over here to locations, and where's Whittier. So I was talking about the logs. Beginning of the game, you'll get that string of log cars. You saw them on the siding being unloaded. Those will be provided you at the very beginning of the game. After you finish off with the tutorial and such, you'll have the option to take a contract with the Whittier Sawmill, R1, 2, and 3. Don't know what they really... I don't know what the tiers really constitute. I haven't played around with the tiers, but you'll have tier 1, 2, and 3. In essence, it's just a contract to take those log cars up to the different log camps, drop them off, load them, and then bring them down to the sawmill and unload them for the sawmill. It's pretty much the best way to explain that, I think. But that's how you'll make your big money. And then, of course, a lot of the manufacturing places along the lines, it's really hard to tell where there's a manufacturing places, because most of these towns do not have any buildings. They're just, you know, side tracks thrown off in random places. But you'll have things like this that'll pop up. That'll give you the option to take a contract with them, and the Class 1 railroad will bring in cars for that contract, and you'll switch those cars out at the various industries during the term of that contract, and you'll make, again, $60-ish per car, $50-$60, which doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you get to like a point where I am right now, where you've got the entirety of the line to Silva, and I'm almost done with the bridge going up to the bridge coming up to here to Bryson. That opens up a lot of industries to kind of take contracts with and play around with, as well as getting just the random cars to drop off. So that's a lot of places that'll add up pretty quick to start making money. I mean, as you can see right here, we've got a pretty decent list of different places and industries along the line. So that's going to be really how you'll make your money throughout the game. It's passengers and contract freight and such. Now again, like I said, you'll get some randoms that you're not contracted for. Stuff like the freight house drop-offs and such. Those are typically just going to be random. You'll catch those cars at the interchange. They'll be mixed in with maybe some of the cars that you already ordered, or they'll be mixed in with, like, your Milestones. Whenever you get freight cars for the Milestones, they'll be mixed in with that. And those are just extra. You'll be able to drop those off at various industries along the line and obviously make just as much as the contract industry stuff does, which, like, it doesn't sound like much, but it adds up pretty quick whenever you start to do a dozen cars. So now one of my recommendations would be to go ahead and sell one of your starting locomotives, because they're not different enough to really warrant keeping both of them, in my opinion. The tractive effort, the power, the range, there's just no there's no decent reason to bother having both of them, and you'll make a pretty penny off of selling one, and that will give you a pretty good chunk of change to play around with. After the first day, you should have, if you've done all your freight and passenger operations, you should have about $4,000 to $5,000. If you sell a locomotive, that's another $4,000 to $5,000, depending on which locomotive you sell. So that's $8,000 right there. So you'll be able to start on your milestones if you want to start at a milestone, or you could buy a different locomotive like I did. But you'll want to start on your milestones pretty quick, because something else that wasn't explained in the tutorial is there's phases to all of these milestones. Some of these are single phase, so like the, let's see, completed. So like these right here, these were single phase. I didn't have to do anything for the purchase track. I just simply bought it and bam, it's all opened up to me. But something like this diesel fueling stand, it was a single box car, dropped it off, it unloaded, take it back to the interchange, bam, I have a diesel stand. But stuff like this, where you're repairing the track to Bryson, it's 3 phases. So you will bring a string of cars out to the designated area. So for this particular example, for Bryson's bridge, you pull them up to the bridge, you'll drop them off, you'll leave them for a certain amount of time, and they will just randomly unload until the bridge is finished, or rather until all the cars are unloaded. And then you'll have to take these cars back to an interchange. You'll have to come back to your milestones here and pay for another phase, and you'll have to rinse and repeat until all the phases are complete. Not something that I necessarily hate, I just kind of wish that it was explained in the tutorial, not just kind of left for you to figure it out. That is a basic mechanic that I feel like should have been explained. But, so we got no passengers right now. We got 2 active weight. It should be for the bridge cars, so we're not going to worry about those right now. I'm going to worry about them until they're all unloaded. But like this car, this has been here since day 1. Stuff like this does not unload fast, like at all. Which pulls up another complaint while I'm looking at it. One of the biggest irks that I have in this game, and one of 3 really. I have 3 major irks with this game. One is just the utter lack of loads. These box cars are empty, even though they show to have 1.5 tons of farming supplies. Your passenger cars, you'll have them full, 60 passengers, not a soul sitting in the seats. Flat cars that claim they're full and there's nothing. That irks the snot out of me. But that, and then just these roads that lead to nowhere. There's never any cars, no people. A supposed town here, and all we got's a freight house and a flag stop. Nothing going on here. Or back there, our oil manufacturing or our heating plant, where there's no heating plant. It's just sidetracked. Stuff like that. Just kind of, I don't get it. I don't get why they opted to not bother with any even placeholders. But, oh well. It's an aesthetic thing. It's not a major boo-hoo. I'm upset. It's kind of one of those things that kind of irks me. I completely forgot about this. Open these gates here. Wonky little aesthetics that you can play with. That has absolutely nothing to do with what we're supposed to be going over on this video. But anyway, back to the milestones. Milestones are pretty much your progression in the game. So each milestone will give you either more trackage to play with, so obviously like purchasing the Silva main line there, building the bridge, which will give you Bryson and I assume all this area here, and then other things like the fueling stand in Bryson. You'll be able to kind of bring the railroad into the diesel era, and then stuff like signals. You'll be able to set up signals along the line, or Dillsboro engine service. So you'll be able to put an engine servicing area down here in Dillsboro. Stuff like that. As you unlock the areas and get the finances available, you'll be able to purchase the phase or whatever. So that's pretty much your progression in the game. That's how you'll, I guess, what one could consider progression. Here's your finances. So this is an important thing to pay attention to in the game. This is where you'll be able to take out loans. So like you can see I've got $1,600 in loans right now because I purchased the rest of the main line and then purchased another locomotive and a passenger car. So I took out a loan to get all that done. And you'll be able to see what is making you the most money, what you're spending money on. So like here, I purchased a coach, so that was $400, left me with $401, or that was $4,000, that left me with $401. And then all these passenger operations, how much I made on them, what my balance is after I made on them, what time I did it. This stuff isn't too terribly important as long as you're pretty decent at keeping track with how much money you've got. Not such an issue, but your loan stuff up here, this is definitely important. You do have interest, so you got to pay, and it'll show you like right now I got to pay interest payment $1,600 in 4 days and 12 hours. You can pay it off early. To my knowledge, there's not a limit to you paying it off early. If you got the money, you got the money, pay it off early. But obviously I don't. I only got $1,200, but this is a good way to, you know, help you get started, get your feet in the ground if you really want to. You could, truth be told, not bother with the loan at all and just grind out the money for your milestones or a new locomotive or whatever. Doing the loan is really not a necessity, and you do not start off with a loan. So you don't start the game off already owing money like some business games do. And then let's see what we got. Our equipment. So this shows what you own, and it's an easy way to, you know, hop between locomotives and whatnot whenever you need to, or you say you got AI running them or whatever. It's an easy way to just kind of click through and be able to keep up with what locomotives where and doing what without popping up the map or physically running around the map trying to find it. So it's a handy thing. You can assign them train crews, which cool. I don't know what major different. I don't know really what it does. I don't know the point, but you can. Just kind of names your trains. You do actually have to make said crews though. So like over here, you got to create a crew. So for giggles and squiggles, we'll do local passenger because obviously this train does local passengers. So we'll assign it. Bam. Now it's got a name. Local passenger. Doesn't put a name on the map or anything, but whatever. This is your employees. I have not played this game online with friends. I don't have any friends that play this currently that I know of. Most of my friends play FPS games. I'm really the only weird one out that plays simulators, but so I assume that this just shows who's online in your server. So right now it's just me. I do know you can, I assume if you have other players in here with you, you'll be able to click their names as well, and then you can assign them roles. So like right now I'm the president. It's my railroad, it's my server. And then of course you can ban them or assign a buddy to run passenger trains, dispatcher, whatever. Just kind of give them a role if you like to role play or whatever. And of course your crews already showed you. And then settings. So settings are and aren't what they sound like they should be. Your settings, you need to know them for this reason right here. I don't know why this is labeled controls, and I don't know why this is under this tab, because it doesn't make any sense. This is how you skip time. So like right now it's 11:43. I just waited an hour. Now it's 12:43. Beginning game, you'll probably use this a lot, just because after you do your little local freight, drop off your cars, drop off your milestone cars or whatever, you're going to have nothing to do besides dragging your one passenger car back and forth with all of 5 people on it. That gets boring really, really, really fast, as you can imagine. So this is how you skip your time, speeds up your progress. And then of course you can change your time multiplier and interchange time. You can change what time it's served. But I understand these being under the settings. I don't understand why this is under settings, and I don't understand why it's labeled controls, because it's not a control. But whatever. That's where it's at. You take note of it. You will use it. And then access controls. The server is not open. Nothing I can tinker with. I have not played with really anything on this. I haven't needed to. Like I said, I don't have friends that I'm playing with, so not something I've ever worried with. But that's really your railroad tab. And of course your core railroad, just kind of your overview, what you're doing, what you've done, previous days, setup and such. Outstanding way bills. This will never go away if you're pulling those log cars. Don't know why. But yeah, so that's your company tab and your core things to know. And then up here you've got your console command tab. I don't know why I can't get them to work. I have tried and tried and tried, and for some weird reason they don't, none of these commands want to work. But it is kind of cool. They do give you your they go ahead and throw these out there for you right off the bat. These are your console commands to do a little bit of cheating per se. I don't mean to put it that way, but you can if you want to. You know, you can cheat in money if you're in sandbox mode, obviously. But you can change the mode, fill tender, set load, set car condition, stuff like that. So this is here more, I imagine, for stuff like this right here. But like the weather, you're supposed to be able to change the weather conditions. I haven't yet to get it to work successfully. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if it's an update. I don't know what. But the weather does not automatically change in-game. It doesn't randomly change. It is always set to this kind of cloudy, sunny-ish mode. And this is how you would change it. Obviously, you'd put in slash weather, click enter, and it will show you the different settings that you can use. So clear, cloudy 1, 2, cloudy 3, rain, fog. For me, personally, I have yet to get it to ever work. But if you get it to work, cool beans. There are different times a day. And obviously the breakdown of how multiplayer controls, such like that. This tab here, this little book right here, this is essentially your more important tutorial. This is going to break down how freight works, your console commands, obviously, how multiplayer works, your basic controls, and your AI engineers. AI is far more basic than they make it sound in this, which is kind of entertaining, but oh well. To put it in short, the AI is not the smartest in the world. It's smart in that the AI will not run a train into another train, and it won't run a train off the tracks. But it's not smart in that it won't do point A to point B. It won't do switching operations. It won't do couple, uncouple. It won't do any of that. All it'll do is go forward, go backwards at whatever speed if you're doing the road AI. So you're doing road AI, forward, backwards, whatever speed. If you're doing yard, forward, backwards, it will set its own speed, 14 mile or 15 mile an hour, and then car distance. So the AI is really very, very basic. They just make it so, no, we're not going anywhere. It is cool though that the AI does use proper whistle codes. For the most part, it doesn't actually blow the whistle at railroad crossings and such, but starting, stopping, reverse, it does actually have proper whistle code, which is cool, but very basic AI, which in my opinion it is and isn't helpful. You're supposed to be able to lay out fuses. I have not tried to. I haven't bothered with the fuse thing, so you're supposed to be able to lay out fuses and the locomotive will, or the AI will stop the train at said fuse. I haven't bothered with it. It is kind of a way that you can make the AI operate point A to point B, but it's not a surefire point A to point B way, because sometimes the AI won't stop for the fuse, sometimes they'll stop for the fuse, sometimes they'll pretend the fuse isn't even there, sometimes they'll just kind of slow down. So take it with a grain of salt. It may or may not work, but that's what you're supposed to be able to do, is drop those fuses and yeah, it'll stop there. So you can set it up kinda so that the AI will run a passenger train maybe if you want it. So like this setup right here, if you wanted it to run from Silva to here, you'd be able to just put a fuse down here and the train would run all the way to here and in theory stop at that fuse and then it would unload. Whether or not it'll work that way, good question, but oh well. I'm not going to bother picking up passengers because I don't need to. But as you guys saw earlier, I did click the hour button. So an hour has passed. I don't know why I'm doing it this way when I can just hop across the map. So Control T will let you hop around the map. A wonderful feature. So very handy. And you can select locomotives using control and then click on wherever the locomotive and operate it from the map. It's a handy thing to be able to do, especially if you're running AI. But this is what I was talking about with this freight taking forever to unload. And all that time, and we managed to unload almost 2 cars. That's it. It's just kind of pitiful considering all you're doing is pushing them off and they're rolling down this hill here. Oh well. So there's 2 cars ready to go to the interchange. That one's not quite. So I won't bother with these, but it will show you. You press the tab button, it'll show you whenever freight cars are ready to go back to the interchange. And in essence, all you'll have to do is come over, hook up to these cars, and take them to the interchange. So for me, it's Silver Interchange. You'll take them down there, drop them off, and bam, you'll get paid. Nothing you have to do for those. But for like these log cars, after you accept the contract for the log cars, you'll have to set the destination for the log cars, kind of like you do with the passenger cars. But this is a little bit more complicated in that you'll have to set where your loads go and where your empties go. So right now this car is empty, so it'll go up to Connolly Creek, Lumber 3. I assume is what L3, but it'll be track 3, and you'll drop it off, and that's where it'll get loaded. And then for whenever they get loaded, obviously it'll be sawmill track 1 whenever you take them down here and unload them. Fairly simple, not explained at all. Wow, this flat car is in terrible condition. Wacky. I wonder why. That one's not much better. And yet these are mostly in decent shape. I assume wear and tear is a thing for a lot of these cars, so you can wear it on them. I typically don't hook up to cars over 2 mile an hour, 2 to 3.5 miles an hour, so I don't assume that I'm beating the snot out of them, because my passenger cars are not wore out like that, but oh well. Another mechanic to go over is repair. So perfect opportunity, actually. You will have to do, or you will have to pay attention to your wear and tear, and you will have to put cars to be repaired or locomotives to be repaired. Now I'm going to have to back up and run into these knuckles so that they'll latch, but it should still be. There we go. Open that up. I will take these and go put those in the repair track for giggles and squiggles. Give me brakes. There we go. But to repair these, I'm gonna have to run around them. I am. So let's go ahead and set our tracks up so that I can run back here and run them around. I have to move that locomotive, but that's fine. But to repair whatever, so obviously we're taking these to be repaired. So take them, and so this is your repair destination. And right now the only shop we have to repair things is East Whittier, your starting track. So we'll set it to that. Same for this one, East Whittier. And now these are destined to go to the repair track. So now we'll take them down, run around them so that we can back them into the repair shed, and they will get repaired over time. Essentially, you'll just drop them off, and if you followed your tutorial, you should have hired a person already. It should have gone over how you hire people. If not, you should be able to do it under locations, and then right here, hire and fire. This is how many employees you have. So like right now I have one single employee working here, but this is how you hire them, this is how you fire them. You will have to have at bare minimum one person to do any kind of work whatsoever. Keep that in mind. But you drop the car off there and he'll get to work cleaning it up or whatever it needs to. Like I said, that's something that you should have gone over in the tutorial if you paid attention to your tutorial, because you'll have that locomotive sitting over here that you'll have to grab and repair. Let's back our little mini Pacific here up. It's actually a really cool prototype. That is a prototype of the world's smallest standard gauge Pacific in operation today. really kind of cool. In my opinion, anyway, it's really quite cool. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're doing. So just kind of a oh, by the way, something a little wacky. Clearly didn't work. So you can normally you can hold space and click on your glad hands, and it'll open or close the ankle cocks at the same time. That way you're not, you don't have to go through the time of click and then try to drag and all that fun stuff. But sometimes it doesn't seem to work. Most of the time it works, but sometimes it just, for some reason, doesn't work. But let's see, what else can we go over? Oh yeah, I know everybody wants to know about whistles, right? Because supposedly you're supposed to be able to play with a bunch of whistles in this game. So pick your locomotive. Obviously, you'll right control click on it so that you get your information table here up, and then under equipment, click customize, and this will let you change the lettering on the locomotive. It will let you change the road number. I don't know what this changes. Interesting. So this changes the lettering on the locomotive itself as opposed to this. Okay. And then down here in this drop down tab, you have a selection of whistles. Take your pick. Some sound decent, some are okay, some are meh. I'm a fan of that one. That sounds pretty nice, but that's how you'll change the whistle, and it's a fair number of whistles to play around with, so that, no two locomotives sound alike, which is pretty nice considering all the locomotives sound alike. Every single locomotive uses the exact same chuff sounds, and the chuff sounds are not great, for lack of a better term, as you can very clearly tell. They don't have a good transition. Absolutely none of the locomotives sound different from what I've been able to experience so far. Every single one of them sounds exactly the same. So it's really nice to be able to change your whistles like that. At least you can have something that sounds different. I didn't quite get past it. But that's how you change your whistles. You can change the color of some of the cars. So like your passenger cars, I know you can change the colors of. Obviously mine are red. These skeleton log cars, you can as well. So right here, you can change the coloring, you can change the letter coloring, and obviously the road numbers and such. Don't know what the copy to coupled is. I'm going to assume that it's something, I'm a fan of this kind of bread. So let's apply it like that. Copy to coupled. Oh, copy to coupled will make it the same color. Cool. That's a handy thing to know. I hit those way harder. I wasn't paying attention. Might be. Oh, well, they're going into the repair track anyway. Gotta make my man earn his dollar. But, yeah. Finding new things out at the same time. So that's handy to know, especially for passenger cars, if you want all your passenger cars to be the same color. So you can change color of the base car and the lettering on obviously things like the log cars, the passenger cars. Don't think you can do it to the caboose. I don't quite remember. I think I tried and it didn't change. I think you don't get the option for the caboose. I think all you can change is the reporting number. And then the same for the locomotives. You can't change colors on the locomotives. A little sad, but oh well, whatever. So, colors, naming, what have I not covered? That's basic and important. I'm trying to go over things that aren't painfully obvious, like stuff that's in the tutorial. This is just a lot of the stuff that I found noteworthy that I've discovered as I've been playing. I did play through the tutorial, but like I said, after you get about halfway through the tutorial, it's pretty obvious what it's telling you to do. We'll put these on this other. I think both cars will fit on one track. Yeah. But, that's your freight operations, passenger operations. Really not much, nothing else that I remember to really go over. Of course, if you want to sell a locomotive or sell any equipment, it's the same concept as the repair. Just come over here, and instead of the repair area, you'll do it down here in the sell. Take it to Silva interchange, obviously, and you'll take the locomotive down there, drop it off the interchange, and after the interchange trains come through, it'll give you whatever that value is for that locomotive or equipment. So that's how you sell stuff. Your character is not necessary for most operations. That's another thing I can point out. Your character is necessary for re-railing. If you derail a train, the character allotted to you has to physically be in front of whatever you're trying to re-rail. But other than that, not needed. It's just kind of there for giggles and squiggles, really. Because, as you can see, I have not one time used my character. And if you want a first-person view inside the locomotives, your character will have to be in the locomotive. So, like right now, it just shoots me over to the mobile. I don't spend much time in the cab, honestly. This cab reminds me ever so much of trains, which isn't too surprising. Most of the graphics and a lot of the texturing, the models, they all look a lot like trains. So for those of you that have been around for a minute, you know I don't like trains cabs much, especially with our Bluetooth brakes here. Just kind of very noticeable. But if you like hopping in and out of the cab, your character will have to be in whatever locomotive that you're wanting to sit in the cab of. Or anywhere else, for that matter. That is kind of a benefit, kind of not. If you want to swap between views and different equipment, like they'll say between a locomotive, coach, and caboose, your character will have to move between the locomotive, the caboose, and the coaches, which can be a little hard when physically moving. Oh, what else? What else? Of course, your tutorial there, you can always pull it up if you need it and go back through the basic stuff it teaches you. You can change your character design a little bit. Skin color, male, female, hat style, glasses, bandana, and gloves. Graphic settings you can change, which, you can change your tree density. They're all just the same 3 tree models, but you can change how many there are. Detail density, this one I don't quite... I don't quite understand the detail intensity. It adds more grass. Other than that, nothing else. Oh, well, there goes that. There goes that tile. Another beware of, sometimes if you start changing some of your graphics settings, tiles will disappear. And they won't reappear. So you will have to save the game and exit and reload the game for that tile to reappear. So I personally don't play around much with the graphical settings. There's no reason to. There's not a lot in game. For lack of a better term, there's not a lot in game to really bother with. So I pretty much leave these 1 and 1. Obviously you can change graphic quality, particles. Limit FPS to 60. No. That's dumb. Don't need that. Field of view, you can change that. This is one of those odd setting features that I actually really like. You can change individual sound sets. So if you think the engine is too loud over your bell or your dynamo or whatever, you can change that. It doesn't have a setting for the whistle, which is, okay, whatever, since you can control the whistle using the V key. Big whoop. But you can control the rest of the sounds and such. It's pretty cool. I don't hate it. Obviously your mouse look speed, and then features, sway intensity, compass, clock. No idea what that is. Optimize how cars are moved. Can save CPU time on particularly busy railroads, but may lead to jittery car movements. I don't have that check marked, but I still very much have a lot of jittery cars. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but it's pretty often whenever I'm running in reverse and I'm dragging a couple cars, the coaches like to wiggle all over the place. Or sometimes the caboose will bungee cord all over, which is quite entertaining, to say the least. But that's your settings, things you can play with. Character, notebook here again. And really and truly, that's about it. I don't believe I have much else to go over. There's not a lot more about the game, if I'm perfectly honest. So yeah, hope you guys found the video informative. Maybe I pointed out some things you didn't know or couldn't figure out, or maybe I didn't point out anything for you. If I didn't, oh well, shoot me, I don't care. But hopefully you guys learned something. Hope you figured something out, or got some questions answered if you had questions. So I am going to probably play around a little bit more, and maybe actually use my little Pacific now for giggles and squiggles, just because I bought it and I haven't used it at all. So anywho, actually I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to save the game and restart it so that my tile will pop back up. This is actually something that was supposed to have gotten fixed in a recent update, and very clearly hasn't. But oh well. Such is the life of early access games. You're a glorified beta tester, and you got suckered into paying to be a beta tester instead of getting paid to be a beta tester. But that's another rabbit hole for a different day. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As stated, this is the game Railroader. I would hope you figured that out from the title of the video, but this is the game Railroader. It is available on Steam. And this was a kind of how to play the game in a crash course. So I will see you guys next time.